Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, going to give out some grades to the new teams that have joined the Big Ten. We begin with the Oregon Ducks, who are undefeated, number one in the country, unanimously in the AP Top 25 poll. I expect they'll be number one in the playoff rankings. So, Danny, what grade are we giving Dan Lanning's crew?
I mean, they did give up 193 yards to Ashton Genty, and they only beat Idaho by 3 points. So I think we should make it a D, right? I mean, we have to hold that against them. No, this team has an A. I think this one was easy, right? The only question, if it's an A plus, is do they go on from here to accomplish their goals and win a Big Ten championship and potentially a national championship? They've lived up to the hype. They came in with the big duck on the river in Indianapolis. They've backed it up, already got the win over Ohio State, no blemishes. It's an A all day.
Yeah, I mean, let's make this quick. It's an A. They held some stuff back for Ohio State. They broke it out. They beat Ohio State. They've almost certainly locked in their place in the Big Ten championship game as long as they can just keep taking care of business. They're beating teams like crazy in the first half and putting on cruise control in the second. Oregon gets an A. Easy.
I don't know. I'm just haven't been all that impressed by the Ducks so far this year. I'd like to see a little. No, they're an A. It's clearly they're 9-0. They're number one in the country. They're getting an A.
Oh yeah, they're an A. We don't need to start fires where they don't exist. The job ahead for the Ducks will determine our season-ending grade. To this point, it is absolutely an A. All right, Tom. What about those Washington Huskies?
I'm going to give them a B minus. I think that they're not exactly where they were hoping to be. I mean, we did talk earlier in the show about whether or not they would get to a bowl game, and that's up in the air. And considering this is a team that played in the title game last year, that's not a spot you would hope to be in. But with the coaching change, with all the turnover, both on the roster and on the sidelines, there were a lot of question marks about this Huskies team coming into the year. They've been able to handle their business at home. They are struggling when they go on the road. So there's a lot of things they need to work on. But considering what the expectations were, or the realistic expectations were beginning at the beginning of the season, I think a B minus suits them right now.
B minus is a great grade, Tom. I fully agree. I think they have actually done a pretty good job coaching this football team. The personnel drop off that they had from last year to this year was really huge. Kalen DeBoer leaving as late as he did in the cycle, I think kind of hamstrung them a bit in terms of attacking the transfer portal, which they were going to have to do to reload everything that they lost. So B minus seems about right. They're still kind of on track to hit what their season win total was from the boys in Vegas.
Wasn't it 6.5 for them to coming in somewhere around there? That's why I'm at
6.5.
I'm at a C with them because, and all these grades I think are incomplete. They've got a couple games to go, but I don't think they surprise. But like they've won a few big games. Beating Michigan was huge for them. Beating USC this past weekend was huge for them. But they also, had some disappointing losses at Rutgers, and then the Iowa game is just inexplicable, like how that blowout could have happened. So I'm gonna say C, but that C is like exactly what we thought they were gonna be. So I think it's just a C. I'm right there.
Yeah, graded on a curve. I'm closer to Danny on this one. I said C plus, but I think it is what could have been, knowing the Rutgers loss, the red zone failures, the special team issues, the Washington State loss. Like, we would not have been playing bowl or no bowl if you'd been doing better. So it's passing. You get credit towards graduation. Trust me, I know about that line right there. Like, that is something that I think Washington can say is like, we're on track, but we're not really excelling. Okay, what about UCLA? Because, Bud, we talk about expectations. Expectations for UCLA were not high. And we talk about, the Bruins as a team that is still playing hard. Sort of like we witnessed the investment, the way that they're going out and competing. But we are in a results-oriented business. What kind of grade do we give UCLA to this point in the season?
I'm going to give them a B. Again, head coach leaves very late in the cycle. They don't have a lot of options. I don't think they had a ton of money to go out and make the coaching hire. Again, it hamstrung them in the portal, much like Washington, except, obviously Washington was coming off a national championship appearance. So Washington a little more attractive to get guys in the portal than UCLA was. And UCLA, they do continue to fight. This team is a lot better now than it was start the year. They struggled to put 11 guys on the field on special teams in that Hawaii game multiple times. I watched that. It was like, oh my Lord, this might be a real disaster. And yet they've come together. Like, the coaching staff appears to be improving, and they're growing, as you probably should do. under a first-year coaching staff. They already have 2 Big Ten wins. I think they could get another. So I'm going to give them a pretty nice grade.
Going to give them a C plus. They're one of the hottest teams in the conference right now. They've won 2 straight, both of them on the road against Rutgers and Nebraska. The expectations were not high. I think that they're playing pretty much according to those expectations. And I think if you look at the rest of the schedule, they might be able to get another win or two. Maybe have not, considering where they began, might not be a terrible season to look back upon, considering how it started. So C plus.
UCLA reminds me of my middle daughter. Her math grade is horrendous right now. And she tells me, she's like, but I have a couple big tests coming up. I can turn it all around. I think it's an incomplete, but I lean towards Tom. But because I gave him a C plus, but I think this grade could be swayed one way or another based on the last 4 games of the season, which direction it goes. There are 2 wins on there they could get and probably should get. But if they don't get them, all of a sudden that C plus could go to a D.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Rock solid C for me. All right, Danny, let's go quickly. How bad do you want to make it? USC should not have this record right now. So where are we going with the grade for USC sitting here at 4-5?
It's an F. And I know it seems like years ago since they knocked off LSU in that opener, but the way the season has imploded on them, the way that all the adjustments on defense haven't been working, and it just hasn't transitioned to wins. Now you're benching your starting quarterback to try to find excuses. It is bad out there at Southern Cal. I think it's an F.
I'm going to give it just a D and not an F. Their 5 losses are about combined 19 points, I think. So they've been in almost every game. They still seem to be playing hard. I thought they played well against Penn State. Obviously got that season opening win against LSU, which continues to look a little bit better and better as LSU plays on. So I'm going to give them a D. Obviously, they've had some real injury problems on defense where they were already kind of thin to start the year. Not an F yet.
F. They have failed. Yeah, they've had a lot of close losses. They're USC. Close losses aren't supposed to be a consolation. You're supposed to be competing for a playoff spot. Instead, you're probably going to be 6-6.
No, it's a D. They can save it with their final exam. I think that's just like Danny's daughter. If you beat Notre Dame, it ain't an F. And they might be able to do that. So I'll say D. All right. Coming up on the other side, Danny just mentioned it, so we're going to spend a little bit more time unpacking it. Miller Moss benched for Jaden Maeva. What does it mean for the Trojans? And some more news and notes. Next.